The gap between strategic thinkers and reactive managers will determine which managers succeed in the future. Think about it. In a world where data and insights are as easy as a good ChatGPT prompt, leaders must consider how they'll add value beyond what technology gives them. One thing is for sure, those who do cultivate these strategic skills will stand out as brilliant leaders. In this video, I'll share how you can improve your ability to see the big picture and think long term to identify strategies that will truly make a difference to your organization and help you stand out, and how you find the time for strategic thinking while balancing your day-to-day work. But first, let's address a common challenge many managers face: understanding what it means to be strategic, especially when you're already busy and juggling multiple responsibilities. I worked with a client who had strategic thinking on his development plan. And when I asked what that meant to him, he admitted that was part of the problem. He wasn't absolutely sure. In particular, though, he worried because he wasn't involved in any of the organisation's big strategic projects. So he was wondering how to demonstrate his skills. The truth is, strategic thinking isn't about buzzwords or sudden epiphanies. At its core, it's about looking beyond immediate challenges to consider long-term impacts, and it's about solving problems. Every manager I've ever encountered has a meaty problem in their area of responsibility that, if solved, would give them better results, make work easier, or improve team engagement. These are perfect opportunities to nurture your strategic skills. But before you start, there's a crucial reference point to consider: your organisation's goals. When I left my corporate career, I spent a couple of years as a consultant and a strategic facilitator, helping senior teams define their strategic direction and annual plans. Now, a common challenge arose at the start of workshops when we'd define and agree on the goal and the scope of what we were going to focus on. Often people would say, "We don't need to do this. Everybody already knows what the goals are." Many wanted to jump straight into the action plan. Yet, when we started working on it and I wrote it down on the flip chart, within minutes, someone invariably would say, "Oh, I see it a bit differently." What often emerged was that there wasn't the clarity and certainty people thought existed. So if the first step in being more strategic is to understand your organization's goals fully, you often need to address a challenge. These goals are frequently poorly communicated, may be done once and then forgotten about, or not referenced very often, or interpreted differently across departments. To see the big picture, you need to do some digging and gather perspectives from different sources. Be proactive and spend time with senior people to learn more about your organization's vision and long-term objectives. In particular, ask about the challenges they foresee. Aim to build a network across departments to gain a comprehensive view of the organisation. See how everything fits together. Regardless of your position, make sure you understand the bigger picture. Strategic thinking is about aligning your actions with the broader organisational objectives. Whatever efforts you make or problems you solve should be anchored in helping the organisation achieve its goals. So let's say you've identified an area that you think will be your strategic showcase, a problem that, if solved, will be a big win and give you a chance to nurture your skills. What next? A significant part of strategy involves understanding the situation, what will help you achieve the strategic goal and what's going to hinder you. And many start by looking at the data, jumping into their computer and spending time analysing data to find out what's happening, or asking ChatGPT and seeing what the answer it gives them. Now, both are valid approaches. Desk research should be part of your plan, and data is important. However, this is not where the highest value lies. Strategy isn't just about data and ideas. The real challenge lies in execution. To think strategically, you need to grasp the operational realities of your area. Much of the answer to effective strategy implementation is found in understanding these day-to-day operations and how they might need to change to do something new. Strategy is implemented by people. They often know what's working and what isn't. Look for those times when people create elaborate workarounds to accommodate poor plans, processes, or ineffective technology. Moreover, people who haven't been properly trained in key aspects of their job or who lack adequate support would struggle to implement new strategies effectively. Another area to pay attention to is cross-functional boundaries, these invisible walls that can exist between teams. Many times when I work with commercial teams, I've been astounded by the lack of alignment that is between marketing and sales functions. Marketing often developing products and brands without fully understanding the customer. Meanwhile, sales teams, especially when working remotely, are not reaching out to build relationships and foster a better understanding of those customers. You see, you have to be able to join the dots and see the connections, and you won't see that just by doing desk research. The real value comes from combining industry trends and data with on-the-job insights. Now, here are some actions you could take to help you. Schedule time away from your desk to work with your team and actively ask them about what works and what doesn't. Collaborate across functions to understand end-to-end processes, particularly if you're in departments like marketing and sales. Again, ask what works and what doesn't. Be a customer. Now, this is going to sound like me on a soapbox, but if you have a customer service function, try your own helpline. Notice how long you wait, how irritating the music is, how difficult it is to find the right answer on your website, how often your chatbots fail, and then finally, when you reach a real person, assess how well they perform. Then ask yourself, are you truly delivering on your customer service strategy, regardless of what your statistics suggest? From an outsider's perspective, very few companies excel at this. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now. What I'm saying is you need to be curious, proactive, and ask plenty of questions. The real value comes from connecting the dots and understanding the root causes and then assessing what it tells you. I once led a business development team that included a van sales operation of about 50 people. It wasn't core to the business, but nonetheless serviced an important channel. I'd been told right at the start not to look into replacing the vans because it wasn't an investment that the company would consider at that time. So I knew that the best way to understand this operation was just to get out there and experience it. So off I went. What followed were days of what we call work withs, and I went out with different sales reps and managers across the country to see what was going on. Now, they had a challenging job, keeping to the routes within the time frame, finding places to park, making sales calls, running in the stock. At the end of one day, I asked the guy I was out with what he thought we could do that would have the biggest impact on our sales. And he said, replace my van with a new one. And obviously my first thought was, well, this isn't an option. But I went on to ask why that would have the biggest impact. He then explained that his van had broken down multiple times in the last month. And as I asked further questions, he detailed the knock-on effects, missed calls, the difficulty of catching up, frustration for both the customers and himself, and how he believed they could just sell so much more if they could focus on the selling and spending time with the customers rather than chasing their tails trying to catch up on calls. And he added at the end, and mine isn't even the worst van. So I started joining the dots, looking at our maintenance costs, the fleet data. We did have some seriously old vehicles, the service measures, why we were missing our targets, and the employee engagement feedback. As I dug down and better understood the root causes, it turned out that this van maintenance issue was enormous. It was a huge problem affecting every part of the operation. So, loving a challenge, I went back to my boss and said, you said investment in the vans was a no-go. Well, I'd like to share why I think we might need to review it. That set in motion a review and a business case, and we did indeed get a load of new vans and overhauled our whole distribution system, which improved the bottom line, the service scores, team morale, and allowed us to focus on the higher value opportunities. Many people rush to solve problems without fully understanding them. Strategic thinking requires digging deeper to uncover root causes and questioning the status quo. This is where your questioning skills are so important. Asking questions that help you truly understand the issues and their root causes is crucial. Now, the 5 whys technique is incredibly valuable here. It works by beginning with the problem and then ask, why is this happening? And you document the answer. And for each answer, ask why again. And you repeat this process 5 times or until you hit a root cause. Even better, look at several problems at the same time. And as you dig down, like with that van sales team example, you will find out how problems often have interconnected root causes. So this method helps you move beyond the surface level symptoms and identify the underlying cause, which will allow you to come up with better solutions. Leaders who can uncover root causes stand out as strategic thinkers, but they may not necessarily be strategic leaders if they're missing the next crucial skill. Have you ever had management consultants come into your organisation and present a strategic challenge in a super effective and compelling way? Everyone listens, they bring clarity. But ask yourself this, did you already know most of that information? I've definitely had that experience. Often what consultants do is conduct desk research, ask people in the organisation what they think is working and not working, and then present it back in a clear and cohesive way so that everyone sees the problem the same way. So why do people within the organisation find it so difficult to do the same thing? First, they can be preoccupied with the day-to-day. But I think they're also often constrained by what they want to say, especially if your contact with the senior team comes in the form of a templated board report and presentation. We can often find ourselves trying to explain strategic problems from a performance slide. But you need to be able to frame problems well for people, whether in a conversation or a presentation, so that everyone understands and it guides them to the solution. You need to be able to tell the story of the strategic challenge in a way that resonates and connects the dots for others. This is where all that experience of talking to people will stand you in such good stead and differentiate you from those who only look at the data. You'll just share so much more nuance and depth in your story. All these skills are learnable and, importantly, practicable. The more you practice, the better you'll just get at them. But there's one more skill and technique that I see all the leaders who do this well use. And it's probably the most important. Remember that manager I mentioned at the start who had improved strategic thinking on his development plan? I asked him how much time he gave to planning for his team. And he replied that it was hard to say, as it was on a as-needed basis and didn't have a regular and set way of doing it. If you recognize this in yourself, you are missing a critical part of your leadership success. You will find that despite your experience, you will not get ahead. If you find yourself always reacting to situations instead of proactively leading your team and managing stakeholders, you will never be a strategic leader. You have to give it time, not a lot, but at least some. Time is your most important tool in developing this skill set. And if you don't prioritize time to do it, you won't improve it. Too few managers, from my perspective, have a robust planning routine. Scheduling regular time to plan and think strategically away from the day-to-day operations is essential. Plus, you need a strategic challenge anchored in your organization's goals that you know would be valuable if addressed. Create a plan to explore, define, and develop ideas for addressing it. Even better, talk with your manager and incorporate it into your objectives. Who will you need to talk to? Again, put that in your plan so that you keep returning to it and keeping it front of mind so that you don't get knocked off course by the busy day-to-day. Make your plan transparent and get it out of your head. Leveraging your quarterly planning to turn your plan into more manageable tasks to complete over the quarter is hugely beneficial here. Use these sessions to step back from daily operations and concentrate on long-term goals. I feel so strongly that managers are missing this vital planning routine that I have created a course, Manager OS, to share the steps so that you can consistently get ahead of the game and confidently manage and lead. If you think this will help you can find out more about it below. Strategic thinking isn't an innate talent, but a skill that can be cultivated through practice and the right approach. By understanding organizational goals, connecting with operational realities, uncovering the root causes, and effectively framing problems, you can accelerate your strategic thinking and your leadership skills and drive significant value for your organization. This is good, as your strategic thinking ability will be one of your most valuable assets as a leader in the rapidly evolving business landscape in which we work. I mentioned the importance of finding the time to think and plan. In this video here, I share more about effective planning from a manager's perspective, which balances strategic thinking with operational needs. This approach definitely had the most impact on my own strategic leadership development, and I recommend checking out that video next.